Hey everyone, Jason Morgan at Fleet Equipment. Welcome to Fleet Equipment Unscripted. I have something a little different for you now. I know you're saying, but Jason Morgan, I clicked on some sort of data related headline, and that's what you do. How could this be any different? Well, okay, first, you're right. But second, we're going to take a kind of deeper look here at some of the driver management systems that have been really trending this year. Maybe in part due to the pandemic, and also this is just where video and telematics systems have been heading and evolving toward. But recently, Idelic and Lytx announced a system integration that takes a deeper dive into driver management and effectively managing safety. I caught up with Hayden Cardiff, Idelic founder and CEO, and Adam McCarty, Lytx vice president and general manager, for a tour through the integration. What's it mean? What do I see? Why does it matter? So I want to dive right into here and so we will start there with him taking us through the Idelic platform, and then we'll shift into Lytx. Enjoy.
When looking at the fleet performance dashboard, which you see here, this is kind of the central hub where Idelic customers come in and see an insight around all the different things that are most important to them, right? In the demo here, we've just got a couple pieces showing where you can see even things from an expiration standpoint around compliance, injuries, accidents. We pull directly from the FMCSA portal, so you're getting daily and monthly feeds there. All of the training and task management around that. So you can kind of set up your dashboards to see what's most important to you. But in relation to the Lytx side of things, a lot of that is driving what's coming into the watch list, right? So Idelic has a machine learning AI-driven watch list that takes into account all of these different data points that Adam brought up before of things that are going on in cab and out of cab to kind of give that good holistic 360-degree view of that driver. So now I can now dive in and see the distribution of those scores across my entire fleet. I can kind of highlight any of those different pieces, or I can look at just who's at the top of my list. Who do I need to actually engage with? And because we have that operational nature to the software, you can actually start to do something about it. And very, very similar and analogous to a lot of the coaching events from the Lytx platform, where we do tie and kind of push back and forth. So it does show up on both sides. But when looking at that, you can see, Melissa had a performance improvement plan assigned, but has some past due tasks. So you can actually click on her and see exactly what's going on. So I can jump into this watch list and get a good sense of what's going on. So the nice part about this watch list, especially driven by the AI and machine learning, is it's not just a black box. It actually goes in and shows you not only who's most at risk, but why. Gives you a clear indication of how many points each individual event actually assigns to that overall risk score. And again, it's very dynamic. It's not a static scorecard where, one customer complaint equals this many points, or one backing accident equals this many points. It all depends based off of that driver's history, how many other events are happening, what is the severity, what are the comments, because we're using natural language processing in kind of putting context behind a lot of the kind of the verbiage around this. And so it is a very dynamic and very helpful tool to be able to understand exactly what's going on and why. And right from here, you can actually assign training and performance improvement plans. We've worked with the best fleets throughout the country, time and time out. Your President's Award winners. We have several of the last couple of years of President's Award winners are customers. And so we've built these performance improvement plans, kind of industry best practice out of the box that fleets can now use and leverage. And once you assign these different plans, and then assign kind of the start date to that, you can actually roll right into the task management of that to be able to make sure that everything is getting completed. And if things are overdue, you can actually go in and see Evan Kramer has a ride along here. I can go through and get ready to wrap up that touch point. And it shows you exactly from a driver management perspective what they need to do, how they need to do it, to all the talking points, what's acceptable performance. So you now have this scalable process to help train and coach that driver to make sure that they're actually doing what they need to do and prevent those accidents from happening in the first place. And so the really impactful part of this is the fact that all of that data is now coming together. And to give you a sense of what that looks like, this is where, kind of diving into an individual driver, you can start to see where the Lytx integration with Idelic really starts to come forward. So inside of this driver's profile, which again, you have a lot of different things that you can do from here. but just looking at that performance side of things where the driver has all of their awards because we're helping to manage and the recognition programs for fleets. Same thing with those performance improvement plans, disciplinary actions, kind of that first warning, final warning, suspension, termination, managing that escalation process, looking at all the accidents and claims and injuries and customer observations. So you can dive into, let's say, an accident, for example, and with that integration, you can now have camera footage pull up right into Safety Suite. So I can look at that dash cam footage right out of the gate and see kind of alongside all of the pictures and everything else that happened, what what actually took place inside of this accident. So I can go in and look and see, yep, changed lanes, wasn't paying attention, rear end. So now that is pulling directly in from Lytx. So now I have that context as I'm going to assign training, as I'm going to manage my escalation, as I'm going to deal with my claims and my accident file. All of that now gets tied together, right? And so that's just one example. Same thing when looking at, when looking at individual telematic events, right? So each one of those hard braking, speeding, harsh cornering, lane departure, all of those types of alerts and warnings come through. So now I can come down into my telematics alerts here and see exactly what's going on. So I can see, well, this was actually a defensive, it marked as defensive. He was going right at the speed limit. I can go in and look at that specific footage here, right in app, and have that good seamless workflow where I can see that video footage right within Safety Suite, and then make a good determinations. That was good defensive driving, and so you can kind of walk through that all together in one integrated platform. And so this is really where the power comes in, because now these coaching events that are logged in either system get pushed back and forth. New driver comes on, we integrate with all of your applicant tracking systems like your Driver Reach or Truck Ride or 10th Street. So new driver comes on, we actually pull that data in and push it out to Lytx. So you don't have to double enter into those different systems. So there's just operational efficiencies that go across back and forth. And now as a fleet who uses both systems, you reap the benefit and get this full holistic view.
Right. Okay. So one point of clarification, when it marks the speed at which the incident happened, that's the information coming from Lytx, or do you have that with other integrations?
Yeah. So looking at all the metadata around any of these different incidents or details. So all of this comes in from that integration with Lytx. So you're getting where it happened, when it happened, the current speed, all those different pieces coming in, asset. So we talking about equipment, we tie into all the asset side as well, whether they log or track that into Safety Suite as their system of record, or we're tying into like a TMW or McLeod to kind of pull that data in as well. So,
I was going to chime in real quick. I think Jason Hayden hit on a really good point, which these systems complement each other really, really well, where on our side, we're able to offer a really great level of configurability and visibility. So then the customer is basically saying, what do I want to see? We highlight that to them. And then on Hayden's side, they're able to, customers are demanding more kind of centralized viewing of these things and more configurability. So now Hayden and team at Idelic are able to pull all of that together in a very customized way, for our customers. So they're just getting exactly the data they want to see across all these dozen or so different integration data points, with Lytx just being a part of that kind of critical context that allows you to see and manage a driver.
Okay. Does it come the other way to Lytx? I mean, do I see like the risk score over here on the Lytx backend dashboards?
Yeah, so we're pushing data back to Lytx as well. So we're very cognizant that you've got users throughout a fleet that live and breathe in Lytx. And so we want to give them all of the data necessary for them to do their job. And then you got users at a fleet who live and breathe inside of Idelic. And we want to make sure that they have all of the data and insights from Lytx. And so you have that data being passed back and forth to make sure that there's no loops or holes that kind of inside of the insights here, and making sure that everyone has what they need to make good decisions. And that's ultimately what it comes down to, because when you can have clear insight, not just data, but insight, and then make good decisions based off of that insight, you're going to see very demonstrable results. And we've seen that time and time again. And we've got mutual customers between Lytx and Idelic that are seeing fantastic results We actually just awarded one of our mutual customers, Modern Transportation, for for their reduction in injuries, workplace injuries as well. So they were one of our top fleets as far as reducing from year to year the number of their lost time injury rate. And so really excited to see that. And again, we know that is because of strong integration partners like this.
Right. And a couple things there real quick. I did, because I think you both highlighted it, but I want to point out, right? Because integrations, they sound real easy. Oh, great. Okay. It's an integration. But to your point, there can be a lot of different data sets in a lot of different places where if you're trying to plug those things in, you lose the information set here. It doesn't come through there. It doesn't come through the way you want it. It's far more complicated and nuanced than you might expect. And the other part is, this is really interesting. And actually the first time I've kind of seen all the additional almost HR driver kind of management being brought in, and all that info being brought in here. And it's a lot of like what's happening on the service side with trucks, right? Where they're integrating a lot of the service components, a lot of the downtime, uptime, repairs that need to be made. And now this is on the driver side. In working with customers and fleets, what position are fleets already in, right? Like the dashboards and the technology aside, how much do you see the equipment, the people responsible for the equipment interacting with the people responsible for the drivers, and how much is this being asked for versus how much they might not even know they need it yet, if that makes sense?
That's a fantastic question. And one of the things that we're seeing within the fleets that are performing the best is the fact that they can integrate the operations aspects of their business with the safety aspects of their business. The fleets who can, what we like to call, operationalize the data, are the ones who are performing the best. And what I mean by that is the ones who have a strong safety culture that actually bleeds into their driver managers, their dispatchers, their terminal managers, everywhere at every level throughout that fleet, being able to clearly have KPIs and metrics at their fingertips, being able to measure not only safety performance, but also on-time deliveries and operational performance and miles per gallon. Like, all those things tie together, and being able to have them tied together is really, really important. And so being able to have a management style and a system where I can now say my driver managers know exactly what they need to do when a driver is flagged on the watch list, because drivers at risk, I assign them a performance improvement plan. I go to check my tasks every day. Everything's outlined for me. I can easily and very quickly jump in and look at my driver, look at the asset they're driving, and be able to make good decisions, right? Like, normally it takes an hour to an hour and a half to pull in 8 different systems, several different spreadsheets, just to have one 15-minute conversation with the driver, right? Like, you can only have a couple of those a day. What happens if you 5x the number of driver engagements you have? The results when it comes to driver retention, when it comes to driver safety, are astronomical. And we just wrapped up a case study with Hub Group, right? Fantastic customer, fantastic mutual customer, that saw a 43% reduction in their per million mile accident rate. Like, those kind of things speak for themselves. And it's because when the biggest thing that they did was now get out of kind of this ad hoc trying to manage individual training plans, to have a integrated solution where they can now track and manage all the tasks, make sure everyone's getting things done, make sure drivers are actually getting helped. Right. Those types of things make a difference.
Adam, in terms of the video aspect of it, right? We've been tracking that a lot. We've been talking about it a lot. Really, at the beginning of the year, before all the pandemic stuff, it seemed like video in the fleet world was really, on the verge of kind of exploding in the mainstream and almost a must-have spec. How much of this kind of visibility do you see being driven by video? And talking with video to fleets, is that interest level continuing? Are they still seeing the value of that? Where does the market sit right now?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that what the challenge is in the market right now is a bit of data overload. So we put a camera on there. The camera is capable of capturing billions of data points in any given day or week. So what I think the industry is seeking, which is why this integration is so valuable and important, is make things easier for me to use and bubble really important things up to the surface so I can take action. Don't just send me a bunch of data that sits in a portal and I don't take action on, and potentially creates more liability than it's worth, right? Like just spoon feed it to me in a way that's consumable, allows me to take action, and then I can actually do something with it and hold people accountable within my organization. So we're still seeing huge demand for video, but we are seeing this kind of need for just serving it up to me in a way that is consumable for my organization, with workflows, with kind of pulling more partners together, leveraging this open architecture that most folks have these days, like ourselves and Idelic, just to make sense of it for our customer and make it work for their organization.
Right, right. Well, and honestly, I mean, for as fast as things have moved this year, it seems like, I mean, that's the constant challenge, right? Make it make sense to me and make it relevant. And that's been the trial 5 years ago, and the same this year. We just have more data, more integrations, and the rate at which everybody is integrating with everybody else. The landscape is really different from where it was 8 months ago in terms of who's working with you and what capabilities you have. And then on the fleet side, as we talked about earlier, even in my personal experience, just getting people to talk the same language and getting people to understand it, right, and use it, I think, is one of the most challenging problems, because the tools, they kind of speak for themselves here.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. I think Adam said it really, really well, which is fleets are being inundated with data right now. There's just so, like, gone are the days where we don't have enough data. Like, we're drinking from a fire hose, especially with ELDs and now cameras becoming really, really important, as they should. Within the landscape of the industry, even things like MBR monitoring becoming much, much more prevalent. Even things like sleep apnea and like wireless sleep apnea machine. Like, there's so many other pieces of technology that are coming to the forefront, and everything is becoming really important because in their own silo they make a strong ROI case for the fleet. But man, with all of that data, you have to be able to wrangle it. You have to be able to pull it together and see it holistically and be able to use it and leverage them together to kind of gain the kind of aggregate value across those different systems. And that's where that we are obviously incredibly excited to work with a company like Lytx, because this type of partnership continues to build out that view. And that's really at Idelic what we do, and kind of where our main value lies, is being able to wrangle all that data. So instead of drinking from a fire hose, you're now ingesting insights, which is really, really important, because data is great, but it doesn't do you any good unless you can make insights out of it and make good decisions based off of it.
Right, for sure. Guys, thank you so much for taking the time. Really appreciate it.